All right, let's dive into this. Imagine you get a school report card for someone who's won most improved and nicest person, but they're also hiding a supervillain in the school basement. Well, that's pretty much the kind of confusing, dramatic story we're unpacking today from the ancient city of Thyatira.
It's a crazy paradox, isn't it? On the surface, this church was doing everything right, maybe even better than anyone else. But underneath it all, something was really, really wrong. And that gets to the heart of what we're looking at. How can something so good have such a dangerous secret?
Looking at this report card, you can see the conflict so clearly. On one hand, they're getting all these awards for improving and for their service. But on the other hand, they're letting a totally destructive influence just run wild. It's this tension between all the good they were doing and the one huge problem they were ignoring that makes their story so incredible.
So let's start with the good news, because honestly, there was a lot of it. Before we get to the big problem, the letter to this church in Thyatira kicks off with some serious, well-deserved praise.
And did you catch that last part? Unlike some of the other churches that were kind of slacking off or losing their first love, Thyatira was actually getting better. They were on an upward swing.
I mean, if you break it down, their report card was just glowing. Their love and their faith were growing. Their service to the community was top-notch. They had this incredible ability to just keep going when things got tough, and best of all, they were getting better every single day. From the outside, this place looked like the poster child for a perfect church. But then, the music screeches to a halt. After all that amazing praise, the letter pivots with one of the most loaded words you can find in any review, nevertheless. And this is where that perfect picture just starts to crack.
You can just feel the whole tone shift here, can't you? The contrast is so sharp. Everything was going great, and now we get to the core issue, the one thing that was threatening to undo all their amazing work.
And there it is. The fatal flaw wasn't something bad they were doing, but something they were tolerating. They were allowing a destructive person who gets the nickname Jezebel to just operate freely right there among them.
So why that specific name? Well, using the name Jezebel back then was like using a code name for a famous villain today. The original Queen Jezebel was infamous in the Old Testament. She was a master manipulator who led an entire nation down the wrong path. So calling this person in Thyatira Jezebel was like saying, "This is a five-alarm fire, people."
So in this situation, this Jezebel was basically a really charismatic influencer who had a huge following. She called herself a prophetess, but her message was incredibly dangerous. She was telling people it was totally okay to compromise what they believed in just to get ahead in life.
Now you might be wondering, why would anyone even listen to her? Why was this so hard for them? Well, to really get it, you have to understand the immense pressure these people were under just to make a living.
Okay, so let's walk through this pressure cooker of a situation. In Thyatira, if you wanted a skilled job, a metalworker, a dyer, a baker, you name it, you had to join a trade guild. Think of them like ancient labor unions. But here was the catch. These guilds had their own patron gods, and to be a member in good standing, you had to go to these feasts and participate in all sorts of immoral rituals. So it was this horrible choice, your faith or your job. And then Jezebel comes along with what sounds like an easy out. She says, just do it, compromise, God understands. But Jesus calls it exactly what it is, spiritual cheating.
So the letter lays out the stakes very, very clearly. It gives them two completely different futures, and it all boils down to the one choice they had to make. Keep tolerating this compromise, or finally stand firm.
First, the warning, and it is severe. For Jezebel and anyone who followed her teaching, the consequence is literally a bed of suffering. What's more, the letter basically mocks this idea that her teaching was some kind of sophisticated, deep secret. The verdict is clear. It's not deep. It's just dangerous.
But for those who resist, the promise is just incredible. To the very people being pushed around by these powerful guilds, Jesus promises authority over the nations. And then there's this beautiful symbol. They will receive the morning star, which represents hope, a new day, and ultimately, Jesus himself.
So here's the crucial point. Why does this story about ancient metalworkers and trade guilds even matter to us today? Because this same drama plays out all the time, just in different settings.
I mean, seriously, does this sound familiar? Just think about it. The pressure to fit in, the pressure to compromise just a little bit to get ahead, or to just not make waves. That pressure is absolutely timeless.
This is the modern Jezebel voice. It's that whisper or sometimes that shout on social media that tells you to just lower your standards because, hey, everyone else is doing it. It's that pressure to go along with the crowd even when you know deep down that it's not right.
And this leads us to the core lesson, what we could call the tolerance trap. The church in Thyatira was loving and kind and hardworking, but they confused being nice with being good. Their love, which was their greatest strength, became a weakness because they were afraid to let it be confrontational. Their story is this powerful reminder that true love doesn't just tolerate everything. Sometimes it also has to stand for truth.
So this ancient story leaves us with a very modern question. It's not about queens or trade guilds anymore. It's about the voices and the ideas we allow to shape our decisions. So what influencers in your life, online, or even in your own head are you tolerating even when you know they might be leading you down the wrong path?